Welcome to the Urban Wine Club podcast. Pour a glass, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sip Clip. I'm your host, Foti Stamos, and with me, as always, Ari Kalos.
Hello. What's up, Foti? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, considering...
Considering what?
Considering that it's still January and it's cold out there.
It was super cold here. I'm actually currently in D.C. It was like 34, I think, today. What's going on in Boston?
We're in the high 20s, but I should say this. I shouldn't be complaining because no major snowstorms, no disasters, no power outages yet. It's we're nearing the end of the month. We got less than 60 days for spring, so hopefully that means that the peak of this shitstorm of a pandemic and the vaccine should hopefully start funneling in and getting things better. So I would say let's be positive and let's be thankful that it's not worse than it is. Definitely. And during the winter time or the winter months, we kind of slow down as far as we're not out as much, we're not as active as much, we don't feel as good because of the environment, and sometimes that leads to some setbacks in our health.
Well, I've been, obviously, me, I read a lot. I read too much. I think it's actually really bad for my mental health because that's all I do is read.
You should seek counseling for that.
This is why I do these podcasts with you. Excellent. You're my therapist. So perfect. I'm reading. People are going through some stuff, man, and their health is really being affected. There's the sedentary, they're not moving a lot. There's the eating, like junk food, stress eating. There's the drinking. And, we're going to address a little bit about this drinking, but too much of anything is no good. And not just that, when you're hitting like too much of certain things, we'll talk about it. Yeah. But you're right. Things aren't looking too good for people because they really need kind of get themselves back in order. And
it's a combination. It's a combination of, people are still pushing to be healthy. They're going to make attempts to eat better. They're going to go to either the gym that they're allowed to go to, or they're signing up for these in-home services like Peloton. Peloton has been like off the charts. There's these virtual trainer.
Peloton's been devices. So popular that even Biden is getting like security issues because of his Peloton.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to make an example that, Peloton's business has gone through the roof because of people being stuck at home. And then there's all these other new startups that are people are signing up for services where, you can basically have a full experience in your living room with these devices. There's one, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but there's one that actually converts a mirror into a screen. And that's great. So people are making
like a smart mirror.
A smart mirror. So people are making all these attempts and initiatives to stay physically healthy by, like I said, going to the gym if they can, Peloton, smart mirrors, all these, there's a ton of different fitness apps that people are using right now. And that's great, but it's still, in my opinion, is not the answer to all for people's complete well-being.
Can I just cut you off and change the subject really quick?
No.
I think I've been in DC too long because, oh man, your Boston accent, smart mirrors.
Yeah.
I'm like, did he say smart mirrors? I don't know if that's just because I've been away from Boston for a while, but like,
you need to get your ass back up here.
Yeah, I do, man.
You're out.
I need some fucking mirrors, kid.
So yeah, you know what I'm saying? So
I love it though. Go ahead.
So the fact that the point I'm trying to make is that, okay, making attempts to eat healthy, great. Trying to be active, great. But then there's also another side that we're not addressing. It's people's, emotional side of things, their interactions with friends and family, their social settings, their home and maybe professional environment. That's also part of being healthy.
Yeah.
And, folks get wrapped up in a lot of thoughts, and these thoughts kind of distract them from the overall picture of what it means to be ultimately content with yourself, with your life, and with your day.
Well, look, Foti, we are dealing with a pandemic. We're dealing with stuff that people have never dealt before. We're dealing with a work environment that nobody's ever experienced before. We're dealing with government now and a change in government that nobody's ever dealt with before. And the reason I mention that is because there are divisions now that are pretty difficult to repair. I mean, families fighting with families politically, and now, are they going to be able to make up? Are they going to be able to deal with it? There's so much stuff charging our mental health, so many things charging our how we live. That's hard on people.
It is. Well, and yes, you make very valid points about the moment that we're living in. But I also believe that pre-COVID, people's lives so think about or look back before how our lives used to be. Busy, 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 never enough time to do anything. But yet we were always structured and scheduled to do all these things in one day.
Yeah.
Work, go to the gym, take the kids to school, do this, go to sports, do this, all these things. And then if you put it all together, it's like, wow, we're cramming all these things into our lives so that we can ultimately be happy.
You're right.
We're doing this so we can be happy.
I'm sorry, but
you get burnt out, you get sick, you get exhausted.
Dude,
you come down with something.
Talk to your mother and father. Talk to my mother and father. And they used to be like, yeah, we used to get together with 5 families and go to Cape. We used to get together with our 3 best friends and their kids and go to Florida. We used to do this and that. I'm lucky if I could see you for 20 minutes every other month because of our schedules.
Exactly. So we need to slow it down. And whenever we go back to Greece and we hang out with family there, it kind of makes you think about life, where look what we're doing to achieve happiness and look what they're doing back home. And they're happy with 10% of what we have overall. I'm not just talking about materialistic things, but just in, whether it's profession, whether it's, whether it's homes, cars, all this stuff, right?
No, it's the whole mentality, Foti. I remember a friend of mine came from Greece, and he was like, let's go for a coffee. And I'm like, I go for a coffee. I go for a coffee with you, Foti. I go for a coffee with my friends. We go for coffee. No big deal.
Right.
My friend from Greece, we went for a coffee, and we're sitting there. And we're sitting there, and it's about 20 minutes. And I'm like, so what are we going to do? What's going on? What's going on? He's like, hey,
relax.
We're having coffee. Relax. Just sit here. And I'm like, what do you mean just sit here? What do you mean? Are we doing anything? Are we going anywhere? What's the plan? Let's figure out. He's like, dude, just chill, relax. We're having coffee. We're relaxing. We're good. And it struck me.
Yeah. We almost feel guilty if we're relaxing too much.
Exactly. I was freaking out because I'm like, why is this dude just sitting there drinking coffee? Why aren't we planning on how to make more money, what we're going to do for our vacation, when we're going to schedule this stuff? This guy is just chilling and I'm going crazy. And I realized after that meeting, I was like, wow, dude, I am wound up and I am going to die young because I cannot just chill.
And you can't do that because you can't die young because we have too much going on.
I agree. I would like to not die young.
So I have, I'm very intrigued and I'm very fascinated by the people who actually live enjoyable lives for a long time. There's a difference. There's a difference between living long and a difference between enjoying life for a long time. And
yes, because if you're living long and you're in a coma and dementia and Alzheimer's and you don't know what the hell's going on and people have to wipe your ass, that's not worth it.
Right.
But if you're 100 years old and you could play chess and you could have a phone conversation with your great grandkids and understand how was your science class and how did your play recital go, that's worth living.
So there's these areas that I'd like to refer to that we're going to talk about, and that we've also researched and read about, is these longevity zones.
Oh, that's a big word, my friend.
Right. So if you really think about it, longevity, these are areas where the inhabitants, the people, the citizens, the residents live, very healthy, long lives.
Yeah.
And healthy in the sense that they're folks that are active. They're in their last stages of probably their life, walking just like you and I, without a cane, without a walker.
Yeah.
Who are very self-aware of their surroundings. They can see well, they can hear well, they can comprehend well.
That to me is so important, because I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen people in many stages of life. If you're in a wheelchair and your brain is sharp, you could still function. If you have all sorts of things going on, but your brain is sharp, you're still okay. But if your brain's not sharp, you are not you. You are not the same person. You are it's just everything goes downhill. The brain has to be kept sharp. Yeah. And these longevity zones, these people they're like centenarians. A centenarian is somebody who lives 100 and over.
Right.
And in these places, they're centenarians and they're still having conversations. They still know who their kids and grandkids and great grandkids are. They still are sharp. They still know. They're still, their little funny remarks. That's the way to do it, man. If you're not going to be like that, there's no point in living long.
And I think it's just a reflection that if people take one step back and realize all the energy and efforts that's going into, making life better is really, in my opinion, probably just a waste of time.
I agree with you.
And it all comes down to very simple, basic principles. So there's principles that you can draw from all these areas on why people, are living long and they're living healthy. And they're as basic as, what we're doing today, but we're not applying it correctly. There's some basics, like some of the basics that's always being promoted to us. You need to obviously, sleep well, get enough sleep. We know that. Get plenty of water into your system. That's being constantly promoted. We know that. Yeah. Healthy diet. And that's a very generic term. Healthy diet, is basically, in my opinion, just don't eat nothing processed. You can eat your choice of whether it's, vegetable, fruits, beans, nuts, certain meats, fishes, whatever the case may be. But that's a given. Exercise, and exercise in these longevity zones is what? The main source of exercise is walking.
The main source of exercise in longevity zones is not going to the gym and grabbing a bar and lifting weights and not getting on a...
There's no Pilates. There's no Zumba.
They move around. They walk around. They get to places walking. They move around their house, stay active in their garden. They do regular human movement, but they do it all the time. Yeah. They don't sit on the couch and watch TV for 4 hours, which in America, I'm going to tell you right now, that's my standard. I'm on the couch at night for how many hours watching TV? No, you cannot do that. And I'm not criticizing people because I do that.
Right.
I'm just saying, we have to change our ways.
We are a product of our current environment.
And you mentioned processed foods. I'm sorry, America, but we're in a tough state of trying to not eat processed foods. I mean, how much food can you eat?
Correct. But you know what? When you create a busy life and you don't have time to make your own food, you're going to be subject to processed foods. No question about it. And what I mean by and processed can be even the things that you pick off the shelf that are healthy for you, like these healthy snacks, they're still processed.
Yes.
These protein bars, these healthy almond snacks, these all that stuff.
If you pick up a product and it has more than 5 ingredients, you're sure to find a lot of process in there.
Right. And I think that most of us don't have it part of our agenda that I'm going to prepare food. I'm just going to either grab things that I can get on the way to work, after work, accessible. There are folks that are doing meal preps, which is great. And then they do it for a while and then they give up because it's I don't got time for this. I'd rather just, find something that's easier and simpler and doesn't take too much of my time. But that's to me, it's how can you not invest in yourself by giving yourself the adequate amount of time to put what I believe is the right things into your system? Why do we invest in other things other than what goes into our system?
Because you know what? Although it's one of the most important things you'll do in your life, it's also one of the easiest things to sacrifice.
Or even for your kids and your family. That's the other thing.
Well, let me tell you one thing.
Oh, tell me too.
I can't say this about me because forget me. Like I'm on a 9-hour drive and I'll hit McDonald's and I'll be like, yo, it's the only thing I can do. So suck it.
Oh, listen.
But let me say this. My son is not even 2 years old yet. And he's wearing 5-year-olds' clothes and socks and shoes. You know why? Because that kid has never had one single processed item into his body, has never had anything full of like processed sugar, has never had anything that wasn't made by hand. And he's 2 months away from being 2 years old, and he's the size of a 5-year-old. If that doesn't say anything, like,
right, there you go.
The kid's a monster, and he's not even 2 yet.
Well, you better like start training yourself.
Well, the problem is once he starts hanging out with other people and other kids and whatever post-COVID and this and that, then he's going to be going to the McDonald's like birthday parties, and he's going to be getting chicken fingers from his like friends.
We've all gone through that as kids. There's nothing wrong with going through experiences as a child. So it be. But as the child gets older and becomes an adult, then we're hoping that adult starts to understand that we need to make some different choices.
Oh, absolutely.
And you would think that living in today's world, we have access to anything we want, information, resources. So you would think that we would be better about ourselves than people did prior to technology, prior to like having information at the touch of a button, right? Most of these folks pre-technology lived a very basic life and it works for them. So why is it now we struggle? Why?
Dude, it makes no sense to me. All this technology should make our lives easier and give us more free time. And I don't think anybody has more free time. All I can remember is being a little kid and our parents all getting together and doing stuff. God help us if I could even get together with you. And imagine me, you, and somebody else wants to get together, the three of us. And imagine doing that 4 or 5 people deep. That's impossible nowadays. Why?
I don't know. You just gave me a headache.
Yeah. Why, man? Why?
Right. It's what we're here to like pretty much preach is that we need to change. We definitely need to change. And we definitely are realizing that life can be simple if we choose to make it simple. And after you and I like really reading about and talking to folks, in these longevity zones, that we should discuss what are these principles that make these individuals live long and be healthy. And if we can break it down,
at
least.
Okay, this is a deeper conversation, so obviously we're not going to get into everything now, but we will. Let's make this longevity zone thing a recurring series.
Yes.
Let's start here. Let's start here on this episode, but there's so much to get into.
So we should acknowledge the principles, and then we break down each principle in upcoming episodes.
And let's argue if it comes down to that.
We always argue.
Let's discuss, let's argue, let's point stuff out.
Right.
So to me, what is a longevity zone? To me, a longevity zone is a place where people live long, but not long and healthy, meaning that it's not like an 85-year-old that's in a chair and like forget stuff all the time. A longevity zone is like when you're 85 and you're walking places and you know what's going on and you make a funny, witty comeback when somebody says something to you, and like your mind is sharp and your body is fit
and functioning.
Yes. So what does that, in my opinion? And we're going to get into this more, and everything I'm going to say is going to require like a conversation, but like food, obviously. I mean, that's just obvious. Water intake, beverage intake, wine intake, stress levels, urgency of things, work, how you deal with work and how your work affects you, how your friend and relationship network works, how your family life works. I think those are like the main points, right?
100%.
So like every one of those can be like hours of conversation, but let's just hit very quickly on stuff.
Right. And those are basically the key components of, your daily life, right? And how often do you hear folks about, there's, problems at home, there's problems at work, there's problems in your relationship, there's problems with your children, there's problems with extended family. That collectively does, chip away at your well-being. And it's up to us to kind of either create some kind of resistance to the drama, I want to use that word, or kind of not letting certain energies affect you, because there's bigger things that are more important than being affected by something that someone said, or even something that someone did that, unfortunately we're humans. Humans will do things and it will affect us. But a lot of folks really take it to heart, and it really takes a lot out of them, which, in my opinion, that time that you've just consumed, you'll never get it back. And it might keep setting you back physically. It might keep setting you back emotionally. It might keep setting you back mentally. So our goal here is to understand that, is to be aware of that, and that we should also find the strength to actually resist to that.
And just the average American work life is like a stressor. It's like people never let go of work. It's nighttime. It's like 9 p.m. and
because
texts are coming in and they're replying to stuff.
You can't.
Well,
so it's hard to shut it off.
But you know what? Like, just for an example, the last company I worked for, we did a lot of work with France. We had an office in France, so I had to deal with I had to deal with the with French office all the time. At 5 o'clock, not only did they choose to do this, it's not even about their choice. The government said after 5 o'clock, you cannot reply or do email. 5 o'clock, you leave work and you're done.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. Talk about it, email, respond until the next morning at the start of the workday.
In most cases, at some point during the day, there's nothing that you can do that can be done the next day. You can easily shut it off, and then you can pick up tomorrow.
Here in America, it's very easy for us to just constantly be connected, constantly be thinking about stuff, my wife, for example, she works morning till, 5, 6 o'clock. And then the rest of the night, she's doing paperwork. And
the next day.
No.
Oh, it's part of the day.
She comes home at 5, 6, whatever ish.
Got it.
Showers, we eat dinner. Then she does paperwork, and she's doing paperwork, and she's responding to patient requests and patients' families until 11, 12, if she's lucky. And this is Monday through Friday. And I'm like, what the hell kind of life is this? I'm like, this is temporary, because Foti and I are going to hit it big and be millionaires, and you're going to retire. But until that happens, this is messed up, man.
I think we're going to be in our 80s still doing this podcast, trying to make it.
Yeah, but this podcast is success for us.
You're right.
I don't care how much money I have. I'm going to sit here and preach to you people, and you're going to listen.
That's right. Well said. Amen.
But it's like, what is going on, man? You're not going to be in a longevity zone. You're not going to have that healthy, long life if you're working early morning until you go to bed and you're tired.
I got to say that I'm starting to notice a lot of individuals through social media are creating initiatives for wellness, whether it's through Instagram, their Facebook. There's a lot of folks out there that want to preach what we're preaching, but everyone has their own version. And wellness to some folks are, eat better, sleep better, hydrate better, exercise better. So there are definitely movements, because we're realizing that we're not in a good state of being in the times that we live in. So, which is great. I think it's a great beginning. I think the fact that there's individuals that understand that we need to change the way we live is a good starting point. And I see a ton of products that are being marketed to people, supplements, these wellness kits. There's people that follow blogs. There's retreats now. There's actual retreats that people go to get a taste.
There's everything.
So, we'd love for our audience to follow us through this wellness journey of longevity, so that we can kind of enjoy it together, kind of bring us back to the roots of what we were meant to be. We were meant to be this way. And I think because of, modern times, technology, big commerce, big industries, that's taken away from our actual simplistic lifestyle.
You really need to get back back to basics. I know it's hard now. I know like life offers too much and there's too much connectivity, but you really need to take a conscious step back and just be. You can't be connected all the time. You can't stress all the time. You can't work all the time. You can't be doing stuff all the time. You need to just step back. And you know what? We're a wine company in essence. And God damn it, like wine helps me unwind a little bit. I'm not going to say like you have to have wine in order for this help. My brain is always wired. It's wired all the time. And few times that I could just let go and step back is when I sit back, enjoy a nice glass of wine, and just be.
Well, that's the perfect example of why these other folks in these longevity zones make it a part of their lifestyle. When their work day comes to an end, they like to get together, have a glass of wine together, and unwind because it feels good.
Yes. If I sat with you and with a couple of other of our friends, and I took my watch and I took my phone and pardon my language, and I put it aside and I had a glass of wine and conversation with people I like and care about,
you would say,
my life would be so much better.
You would say, that was great. I'd love to do it again.
Absolutely. And I would go home that night and I would sleep better and I would, tell my wife about what we were talking about and I would enjoy it and I would go to bed and life would just be good. But okay, now obviously there's a pandemic, so that's a little bit different. But aside from that, we need to get back to that. Now people realize how much they love that because of the pandemic. Like how much do you realize you miss hanging out with people? More so now than you did before.
Than ever.
Right?
Yeah.
I used to be like, we gotta go out. I gotta meet Foti in like Boston in town. Oh my God. Like, how am I gonna get there? How long is it gonna take? Am I gonna be late?
I'm gonna find parking.
Now I'm like, hell, dude, let's go. So if you're gonna look for a silver lining in the pandemic, it's like you're gonna realize to take advantage of what you had. Take advantage of what you had and enjoy what you had, the simple things that you had.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we believe in. I'm so convinced, more so than ever. Even though, we're our background as Greeks and Greek Americans, our culture has been part of a culture that actually has the examples of longevity. And we kind of like steered off because of our integration of American lifestyle, if I can say that in a very...
Well, look, I'll say this. I have a lot of Greek family that's come to the U.S. and most of them have died in their like 50s, 60s. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of Greek family in Greece and they're all in their like 80s.
Right.
70s, and they're going strong.
So,
and 90s. And it's like, okay, what's the difference here, man?
I've completely 100% convinced that moving forward in my life and in our lives, we're going to head in that direction of living by these basic principles. And we're going to definitely, in all of our episodes, make it a point that, these principles are part of what we do. And,
we have so many good people in our network. We have Dr. Susanna Hoffman, who knows everything about everything, about everything.
Yes, pretty much.
Ask her what the meaning of life is, and she is going to tell you. Like, she knows everything. She's awesome.
And Susanna will definitely, let our folks know that she will be launching a series of dips in sip clips with us.
Yeah.
Not only will she demonstrate recipes, but she'll give us the origins of these recipes from like ancient times and how they're still here today.
No, this woman is going to, every time I talk to her, I'm like, yeah, Susanna, it's all good. We're going to talk about this. And then she wows me every time. And I tell her that and she makes fun of me every time.
It's the best
because she's so knowledgeable and I'm always like fascinated by it. So like, that's so good. Now we have somebody in our foundation that's going to work with us. Karen, right?
Karen Sheehan is a dear friend of ours who's been, side by side in many different things that we've been doing. We're very honored that recently she's going to join us on the foundation level of our operation. And also, she's also going to be part of this whole wellness project that we're going to promote.
Yeah, so she's really, really into human wellness. She's studying it. She's talks about it all the time. It's part of her life. And, you know, when we're listening to her, we're like, hey, we have to bring you on when we're talking about this stuff because it's exactly what she's doing. It's exactly what she's passionate about. And we're going to bring her on. There's so many people that we're going to address this with because this is a big topic. This isn't something little. This isn't something we could just talk about once or twice. Like this is a series.
This is all of our future.
Yes, this is longevity, people. This is, do you want to be 80 years old and in some home staring out the window, not knowing who the hell is talking to you and somebody wiping your ass? Like, no, nobody wants that.
So we got to make efforts from now.
You want to be 80 years old and you want to be on the golf course. You want to be like walking down the street with your friends and talking about what your granddaughter or great-granddaughter did last week in her science fair project. That's life. That is life.
Right.
And that's what we want to talk about. And that's what we will talk. So without going further too much into it, this is going to be a series. This is going to be a series of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to bring educated, interesting, fascinating guests. Foti and I, although we goof around and we're silly and funny, or maybe we're not funny. I don't know. If you think
we're silly, for sure.
But like this is a passion of ours because if I talk to Foti just on a personal level on the phone, nobody else listening. It's just me and him. Like how many times have we talked about like what supplement is good or like what we should be eating or like
and that also is the reason why we've personally invested in bringing products from Greece that are from sources that are made organically, biodynamic, all natural, no artificial anything. You know, for us to want to invest to bring products here to our market so that we can have it showcased to our audience that we're consuming this because we believe in it. So should you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I never try to preach to people about anything, but I 100% will preach about two things, health and environment. And the stuff we do is sustainable. It's environmentally friendly. It's organic. It's like biodynamic. It's like those two things are important to us. And those two things is what we preach. And hopefully you appreciate that because we're not like these hippie weirdos. We're passionate about things that are important to life. And what's important to life?
And you know, and we're not, you know, there's plenty of infomercials that are promoting supplements about what can make you live long. You know, we're not about that. We're about, if we believe in it so much that we're doing it ourselves, we want to spread that word to everybody that's, you know, in our network, in our audience.
Yeah. And we're Greek, dude. So it's like part of the Mediterranean whole thing.
So we're definitely going to be doing upcoming clips where we're going to be actually trying all of our products on our podcast together. Let people get a closer look at what we're experiencing and break down each product and tell them why it's great to have, besides the fact that they taste great.
Yes, it's an important thing. It's an important thing for us. It should be an important thing for you, and that's what we're going to do. So,
all right, let me ask you a question. So tell us, what steps are you going to take now to better your well-being for this new year?
Okay, so
it's not a resolution. I'm not talking about what steps are you going to take versus what you were doing before, knowing what we just discussed?
Well, what we're discussing is not something that's overnight. Like this stuff has been in our head and we've been discussing it for a while. So these are the things that have changed with me. And in the new year, 100% is what I'm pursuing. So I try.
I'll tell you mine after.
Let me say mine. Let me say mine as fast as I can.
No, don't go fast because you.
All right, I will go very. So, I try very much to do somewhat of an intermittent fasting. And when people hear intermittent fasting, they're like, oh, you go like 1 or 2 days without eating anything? No. What I do is I stop eating at 7 p.m. and I don't eat again till 11, maybe 12 the next day.
Good.
That's not really that hard. Like have a good dinner at 6:30. And then like have some water and like your morning whatever. And then like when you get really hungry around 11, 12, eat. That's intermittent fasting.
Right.
That's good for you.
I'll tell you, not because I wanted to actually discuss this, but because you mentioned it. I tried intermittent fasting over a year ago, 3 times a week, right? I would only have an 8-hour window. So just like you said, I would have my first meal at noon and my last meal before 8. So I did that 3 times. So I noticed a drastic change in my weight and the way I felt. And I was like, wow, this is like not that bad. I can do this. And from 3 days a week, I started to like go 4 days and then 5 days. And then I started doing 7 days. So I've gone 1 year since then of intermittent fasting 7 days a week. I only do that. And I've seen a drastic change in the way that I feel. So I believe in it because I tried it and I seen the results. And people are like, oh, how can you not eat breakfast? Well, the term breakfast, modern times, is basically eating in the morning.
First of all, breakfast means breaking the fast. It does not mean 7 a.m., 8 a.m. you have to eat something.
Right.
It means breaking the fast of the nighttime. So the first time you eat is breakfast. Right. It doesn't have to be like early in the morning.
So when I went to get my physical not too long ago, my physician who took all of my vitals couldn't believe that I had cholesterol, my blood pressure was up, obviously my weight was up. They did blood work and everything came back above average.
Really?
And the doctor asked me, like, what are you doing? I go, honestly, I'm fasting. He's like, what do you mean by fasting? I said, I'm doing this. Okay, they use the term intermittent fasting, which is basically, you don't do it every day. But I said, I stuck to doing it daily. It's like, wow, that's good discipline. But I think once you get into a mindset and once you feel, this sense of like this fulfillment of energy levels, clarity, you don't have a foggy brain and you're energetic, like you don't want to not feel that way. So you continue to do it. So for me, I would definitely tell our audience, try it, even if you can't do it every day, but it's well worth the effort. In the beginning, you're going to have some struggles, but believe me, those short-term struggles are going to be well worth it in the end. I'm a big fan of intermittent.
People, honestly, they shouldn't be eating past 7 o'clock. I mean, there's just no need.
You shouldn't, so past 7, what are you doing? Most folks are either scrolling through social media on their phone, watching TV programs. Maybe they're preparing for tomorrow, and because they're consuming energy, they're getting hungry.
No, I get it, but I'm saying like this whole thing with intermittent fasting is like something that's like you shouldn't be doing something out of the ordinary. Like eating after 7 like should be part of a normal life. I know a lot of Greeks and Mediterraneans and Europeans and this and that. Their night doesn't even start till like whatever time.
Right.
You don't need in America. Let's just talk about America. You don't need to eat past 7. Eat a good dinner. So don't eat past 7.
If you can just tell our audience, either try to do this. Either here's your window of eating: 11 to 7 or 12 to 8. Just give yourself an 8-hour window of when you're going to eat, and in that 8-hour window, choose wisely.
But even if you're going to fast for 12 hours, 7 to 7 a.m. is 12 hours. You can still eat a big fat breakfast at 7:30 and still have had a 12-hour fast. But better if you do it 16 hours.
Well, hold on a second. I'm gonna challenge you on this. You can do 7 to 7 unless you go to bed at 7. Your body needs that time to break down and process whatever you've had from before.
But I'm saying like,
and it happens during sleep.
If worse comes to worse, and
it's a starting point.
You can't skip your breakfast, blah blah blah. Like 7 to 7 is still a good intermittent fast.
Right.
16 hours is the ultimate, so that's like 7 to like 12, right? 8,
what
9,
when
10,
you're gonna
11.
eat?
No, 7 to 11 is a 16-hour fast. That's the best. Yeah. But even a 12-hour fast is good.
Right.
So
my challenge that I want to incorporate to be in a healthier state of mind and well-being is that some of these principles that we discussed amongst these longevity zones as people walk a lot. So one of my goals is to be able to walk 5 miles a day. That's one of my goals.
5 miles, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I said it's 5 miles. So I'm like, so when I've researched, our folks that live in these areas, they're walking an average of 5 miles a day.
How many steps is that?
I don't know. It's beyond the 10,000 steps. But what I broke it down to is that if you can collectively in your day, so you have 24 hours, if you can collectively walk an hour and a half, half. It doesn't have to be all at once. But if you break it up into 2 segments. If you can walk 45 minutes, 2 segments a day, you can reach that 5-mile mark. Maybe it might take you 2 hours. But I'm just saying, that's one of my personal goals. And I think that if you really want to do it, you could probably achieve it. That walking 5 miles a day will have a drastic impact on your physical health.
So post-COVID, we used to meet up at like Starbucks and chat about stuff. So post-COVID, we're going to meet up at Starbucks, grab the coffee, but we're going to just walk and do our meetings.
You know what? It's all your fault because we should have thought of this before, and that we should now moving forward, we should definitely do that. We should definitely have coffee and walk.
I don't care how cold it is outside. First of all, a good chunk of the year is perfectly fine in weather to do that. And then when it's really cold, bundle up and get walking.
That's it. Ari, I think we said quite a bit about how we feel and the passion of what we're going to do.
This was a longer episode than I thought it would be, but it's because this is the real deal. This is the first part of many more to come because this is important.
Yes.
And I really think within our network of people, we have the right people to discuss this stuff and to really, not like theories and like false this and that, real knowledge for a better life and a better health.
Exactly. So this is exciting to the point where it's one of the most exciting initiatives and projects that we're going to be working on.
And we work in wine. When you think of wine, as long as you're not like slamming down like 5 bottles a day, wine can be good for you.
And as you termed it, for us, it's also the original social network where wine for us brings us together, right?
Patent pending. Nobody out there say that without paying me a nickel. If you enjoy a glass of wine with your dinner, a glass of wine when you go out with your friends, like that's a good thing. Don't act like this guy here because he
don't drink alone is what we're saying.
My favorite thing in the whole world is to drink by myself.
Yeah, but if you're gonna drink, call somebody, call a friend.
No. I like to put sad music on, sad music, and just drink. So that's just me. That's COVID, Ari. But okay. This is going to pass and we're going to get back into the swing of things. And, I'm going to follow our own advice that we're talking about.
Exactly.
Foti is going to follow that. And you guys, honestly, we're not messing around. We know what we're talking about. And the people that we're bringing into this know what they're talking about.
So we're going to be posting, blogging, podcasting, video blogging. We're going to be doing everything that you can imagine that's going to constantly promote what we believe in as what is to live long.
We're going to come to your house. We're going to scold you.
We'll cook for you.
Yeah.
We'll pour you some wine.
And that's like...
We'll force you to listen to stories of our lives.
And like minimum wage is what we're charging. Don't even worry about it.
All right. Yeah. So yes, lots of good stuff, Ari. I mean, things keep getting better. We just test the waters. We've tested the waters with what we're doing. We've brought people together through wine. We've met a lot of great people. The network is growing. The followership is growing, regardless that we're goofy and silly. But I think that it's lending to what we're offering. And I think I'm super excited about the fact that, we're actually opening more portes.
All
right. I gotta throw that in there.
I like that.
I gotta throw that, aka doors and windows. That this is good. And I think that we're constantly planning always what's the next best thing for our audience.
Listen, everybody, stay tuned for what we're doing. Stay tuned to the videos, stay tuned to the podcast, stay tuned to the apps. We're gonna be constantly posting. We want people to be healthier, we want people to be happier. Stay tuned to our stuff. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully it syncs with you and you enjoy it because that's what we're doing. That's what we will be doing. We have a good time doing it. Hopefully you enjoy it. And, we're going to be bringing you a lot more. Stay tuned. Guests, info, everything is coming. All our platforms, get on them. And we will see you guys soon.
Yes.
Foti?
Stay tuned. Follow us. We got a bunch of webinars coming up. We got a lot of exciting guests that are joining us on our webinars. Ari, I can announce this from now for those that are listening. On our Cleos Valentine's Day webinar, we've got a special guest that's joining us.
A couple of special guests on that one. So Effie Panagopoulos, who's the founder of Cleos, the first woman to find a Greek...
To start a spirit brand out of Greece.
A spirit brand out of Greece. She herself is fascinating, but she has guests. She has Tony Kariotis, who is like this Greek media guy, and
guru.
Not to his handle on Instagram is Greece. How do you get bigger than that? Like, that's huge.
He's Greece.
And then if that's not enough, Debbie Matenopoulos. You know what
Like,
Debbie Matenopoulos is? Let me tell you who Debbie Matenopoulos is. Debbie Matenopoulos has been parodied on Saturday Night Live, okay? You can't get parodied on Saturday Night Live.
So
if you're not huge.
So we're honored to have her along with all these great guests. That's why I'm saying that we're very grateful and blessed that we're able to actually just interact. Like, these are folks that we would like cherish and adore on TV, and now they're going to be with us on our podcast and our webinar. So yes, so a lot of good stuff happening.
Yes, stay tuned. We have Kayla on February 4th.
Florida Cognac rum. We're doing a great cocktail demonstration with her.
Yes, we have
February 18th. We got our boy Johnny Livanos, who's our resident
handsome guy,
the Greek Ryan Reynolds, that's going to be with us, demonstrating 3 amazing cocktails with his amazing gin that he's produced.
Yes. And
then we're tying in with us a product or products from a brand called Cheeky, which are all natural juices and syrups, right? Cheeky.
Yes.
They're going to be with us.
And then what we mentioned with Effie, Tony, and Debbie Matenopoulos, that's February 11th, just in time for Valentine's Day. And then we don't have it scheduled yet, but we have a whole bunch of cooking demonstrations, cooking and wine pairings. And most likely, hopefully I don't overstep, but hopefully we are going to have Drew Bledsoe back for a webinar. So stay tuned for the information on that one.
Exactly. All right, there you go. There you have it.
That's it. We ain't got no more.
Save it for tomorrow. All right,
everybody. Thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you for following what we're doing, because, we truly care about everybody out there. We truly care about well-being. We truly care about health. We truly care about interaction and having a good time. And that's why we tie all these things into what we're doing. So thank you. We will see you next time. Foti, you the man.
Take care, Ari. Just keep this in mind. 5 miles a day.
I like that. I'm going to try. Cool. I'm going to try.
1 mile at a time.
I'm going to break it down into steps, because I feel like I could do it when I think of it in that term.
All right, perfect.
Let's see how we do.
Excellent.
We'll talk about it next time, people. Thank you so much. Stay good. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Drink some wine.
And live
your life. Throw the watch away and just be.
Cheers.
Cheers.